Okay, this is exercise 3-3. We're going to name the drawing Park Bench. First, we are going to go up to the Revit, and we're going to click on New. You can do New from here. You can go over here and go New. And we're going to create a new family. So I'm going to select Family. And then I want to select Furniture.rft. So Furniture.rft, this means that it's a family in Revit. And I want to press Open. And I want to activate the View ribbon. So I'm going to come up to View and select the tile under the window panel. So right here we're going to select Tile. And I'm going to double click the tile for elevation right window to enlarge it. I'm going to activate the Create ribbon, and I'm going to select Form Extrusion. So under Forms, I'm going to select Extrusion. I'm going to activate the Insert ribbon, and I want to select Import CAD. And then I want to select the Park Bench file that's saved, that I downloaded from my book files. I want to make sure that all of these things down here match what's in the book. So I want to preserve all, auto detect, correct the lines, origin. We want to select manual origin, and we want reference line, orient to view, and we press Open. Oops. I'm going to click Modify, and then if you double click in this window, it will zoom into the park bench. So if you didn't see anything like this, when you originally opened the file, just double click in here, and then that zooms in to the drawing. And I'm going to type F, and then you can see down here that's the shortcut for Find, which also allows us to see the park bench. So two ways to do it. If you don't see the park bench, we can do F, Enter, and we can find it, or we can double click. I like the double click. So on the Properties pane, we want to select the extrusion end to 4 feet. And then we're in the Materials column. We're going to click in here, and we want to assign a material. So I'm going to click on these 3 dots. It's going to open up the material dialog box. And I'm going to search for, right here, in the asset browser, Redwood. Hit Enter. I'm going to come back over here, and I want to highlight the default material in the material browser list. So here's the default material, and then I want to highlight the redwood over here in the asset browser, and see this little arrow here. I can click on that, and it will make that redwood the material for the default. And then I'm going to close out of the asset browser. I'm going to come back over to default. I'm going to right click on it and rename it Redwood. And then I'm going to say OK. So now Redwood is listed as the material. Okay. Now I want to clean up the sketch so there's no intersecting lines. So I have to trim out some of the stuff in here. And you can use the trim tools. So you can use double trim, or you could use the split command. So I'll show you this. I might split this material right here, and then I might use trim to clean up those intersections. However you want to do it, whatever's fastest for you. I like splitting them and then using the trim tool. Or even, in some cases, I could delete it, or I could even pull the line down to make sure it snaps to an endpoint. That's a little tricky though if you accidentally hit the wrong endpoint. And then delete this hatch out of here too. We don't need that. You can window over it and then delete it. That's a little faster. I'm going to use split again and then trim here. Actually, split this and then trim here. Okay, so once there's no intersecting lines and you just have an open form, I can hit the green check mark, and that will finish the extrusion. So now if I go to the 3D view, I can see the bench. I can rotate it around. Realistic display is down here in the visual style. I can change it to realistic and it turns to that red color, which is the redwood that we added to it. Then we're going to go back to the elevations. I'm going to click on the back elevation view. And I want to activate the create ribbon up here. I want to go to the work plane and I'm looking for the set tool. So I'm going to set the work plane. I'm going to enable pick a plane. And then I'm going to say OK. And then I want to pick the back, the front face of this back. Here we go. Extrusion. So click that and then that sets my plane to the back. And then I'm just click the show up in the work plane and then you see that my work plane is on the back part of this bench. I'm going to go back to my 3D view and I'm going to turn on work plane and you can see actually I didn't set it right, so I'll try to set it again. Pick a plane. Nope. Go back to that back. Sometimes it's tricky to get. I'll try that one. Go back to that 3D view. Ooh, it's still on that ceiling. Let's flip it around. Set. Pick a plane. Sometimes it's tricky. You'll get it though. There we go. Now I got it. 3D was a little easier, so you're more than welcome to do it that way. Okay, we're going to go back to Create, and we're going to click on Extrusion. I'm going to select the material from the Properties pane. Material right here. Oops, sorry about that. And now we are going to create a new material. So right down here, we're going to create a new material. Under that default new material, I'm going to right click and rename that aluminum. And then in the asset browser, which is this, I'm going to type in aluminum, hit enter. And I want to highlight aluminum anodized blue. So I have to find that in here. Once you find it, hit the little arrow button and that will change that. I'll default aluminum to the anodized blue. Close out the asset browser. Under appearance, we need to go to graphics and check use rendered appearance. So when you render it, it gives it that shiny aluminum finish. And then we're going to say OK. And then we're going to change the extrusion end to 1/4 inch. So this has to be 0 feet, and then we type in 1/4 of an inch. And hit apply. I'm going to go back to the back view here. And on here I need to draw a rectangle on the seat face. So you can use your rectangle tool. And then you can draw a rectangle on the seat face. And it looks like it actually has a 2-inch offset. So I'm going to do this, and then you can use the offset command. For 2 inches, and then you can offset this rectangle. And then you're going to want to trim that up. Whoops, remember, sometimes I do that. There we go. You can also click on it and move it. Just make sure it snaps to an endpoint, however you want to use trim. You can use the corner trim tool too, which is a little bit easier. And then up here, there is a fillet arc command. You can change it so that it has a 1-inch radius, not a foot, 1 inch. And then we can create an arc on each of these corners so it's all rounded out. Okay, when you're done creating this shape, you can hit the green check mark. Now we can go back to the 3D view. We can take a look at what we've created on the back side of the bench here. And it looks like we have the blue on the back. But you know, it actually looks like they wanted that on the front when you look at the image, doesn't it? Like it was supposed to be here on the seat face. Well, let's do this. Let's go to the left view and keep going on. And we want to go to the Create ribbon, select the Reference Plane tool, and then the Pick tool. And we want to pick the outside line of the aluminum plate, so you got to zoom in, pick this outside line. And then we're going to use the grips to extend the reference plane. So I'm actually going to just click Modify and hit Tab until I can grab that reference plane again. And I'm going to pull those grips up and down so we can see it. And then right here where it says click name, I want to click in there and I want to write front of plate. And click. And I'm going to select the set tool in the work plane. And I'm going to select the front of plate reference line and say OK. I'm going to select elevation back and then press open view. And then I want to select the model text. So annotate, and we need the text here on the Create ribbon. And we're going to sorry about that. In the Create tab, we're going to go Model Text. Okay, and then we want to write, in memory of our fallen, and say OK. And then I'm going to click to place that in the view. I'm going to hit Escape to cancel or modify to get out of that command. I want to select the text I just created, and in the Edit Type up here, I'm going to select Duplicate. I want to rename this Model Text 2, say OK, and then you want to change the size to 2 inches instead of 6 inches, and then say OK. Now you can use the Rotate tool, and we can rotate this, well, around. There we go. And then you can just use the Move command and center that right inside of that box with the arcs. Okay, and then before we hit Escape, we want to set the depth here to 1/8 of an inch. Hit Apply. And then we want to adjust the material. So material, I'm going to click here. I want to create a new material like we did before. Open the asset browser, search for brass, and I'm looking for satin